we already booked our holiday. So I'm trying to work it out how it goes, like here from Brouwershaven, which is a very small town in Zeeland, part of the Netherlands. I prepared a presentation, a PowerPoint, and I will use it during this session. Okay? Yeah, content, screen. So can you see this?
Yes.
I don't hear anything. Okay, thank you. So this is the power of metaphor. And a short introduction on myself. I studied biophysics in Leiden University. And then I did an MBA in business information system development. And then I started to work with Philips and other companies. I got a certification in the psychology of metaphor. I'll come back to it later. And since last year, I'm registered to call myself a CPF master. My company name is called Mind of Work. And I have over 25 years of experience in catalyzing change. I always say I've been facilitating even before I know it was called facilitation, because the way I like to treat situations is gather everybody into one room and saying, if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. I don't make a distinction between people who are part of the solution and part of the problem. We're all in this together. And in doing so, I discovered how we tend to frame ourselves into a metaphor, and that metaphor is again framing our situation. So there's a kind of double bind in the way we use metaphors. And I'm going to introduce this concept to you in this workshop. And as a way of introducing to facilitators, I always say I'm serving the universe by disrupting conversations. What I try to do is try to change the metaphor in use, because only when you use a different metaphor, you can see the situation differently, and then you can act differently. Years ago, I came with this quote by Ralph Waldo Emerson, American philosopher, and he wrote somewhere in a book called Nature, the world is emblematic. That means the world is like figures, like pictures, like emblems. Part of speech are metaphors because the whole of nature is a metaphor of the human mind. And this quote struck me very much because the idea is very profound. The whole of nature is a metaphor of the human mind. So we see in nature the reflection of our mind, and our mind reflects nature. And I think this is a very profound wisdom. And I built the presentation on this metaphor. How do we create metaphors in our mind? So the objectives of this presentation is to help you see how you shape reality through the lenses, and of course this is a metaphor, a lens of your metaphors. So you create your own image of reality and then enact it, and in that you create the reality you work with. And I think it's very important for facilitators to realize this, because once you know it, you know you are here to support people in expressing their metaphors. And by changing the way participants perceive or express their metaphors, you change the options participants have and the choices they make. And in that way, you empower your participants in dealing with change. For instance, the whole COVID-19 or Corona crisis is in France, for instance, defined as a war. We are at war. So that is the metaphor you use. And because you apply that a metaphor to the situation, then you start to do all kind of defensive things. So the actions follows the way you see the situation. Are you still with me?
Yes, Jan,
Hello?
we are here.
Okay. Yeah, I can't see anybody, so it's very strange. I'm talking to a screen. Okay, well, this is the agenda. I'm going to do some work to let you do some work first on the Jamboard. Then, when you have done that, I will go into a short presentation how we create, use, maintain, and change metaphor, and then what are the implications for facilitating, and then there will be questions which I won't answer, but you can send them to me, and then I'll see what I will do with it and mail you some answers. Okay. So to start with, I don't know if you are familiar with Jamboard. So I created one and 2 pages in which we can do some exercises. So if you can go to this link, I don't know, can you send the link in the chat?
Yes, Golly just send it into the chat. Jan.
Okay, and then go to the page 2 and 3 and add your name and where you're from. So this is the Jamboard, and then you go to page 2, and with me there's a plus sign, sticky note. Okay. And it works through the cloud, so every change you made is seen by everybody. Then you can also use the 3rd page. You can pick up the notes. Oh, sorry.
Ebru, maybe you can go to the 2nd page, the 3rd page, because when many people are doing, yes, too many people, if we're using too many of at the same time, you go to the next page. You go to the 3rd page, if possible.
So Tamara, it doesn't show anything. It doesn't show the Excel sheet. It just says as a Google prompt, this message. So I don't feel that we have a choice to go between pages. That seems like the next step. It doesn't even let us in.
Okay. You will be able to do it after we are break into the room. So just keep this link open, and
Okay.
it will eventually open at some point. You don't close it. That's the only thing. It will come.
Okay, sure. Thank you.
Welcome.
Yeah, you can get the hang of it, how it works. And if you want to have an image of it, you can make a copy, or you can create an image, and it will download on your PC. It's built in the cloud. Very nice, very intuitive. Okay. Yeah, I love this tool too. I don't know. It's based on Google, so I don't know if it's available in countries like China. And perhaps there you have to ask somebody to add your notes to the Jamboard through the chat or by talking to them.
No worry. In China, I'm using VPN, so I can log in.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
I said that I'm log in by using VPN, a kind of way to Google.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks.
VPN. Okay. Metaphor is part of language. Yeah, I'll come to that. Okay, Tamara, shall we go on?
Yes. If you start, do you want Goli to share the, if you want to see us, maybe it's easier for you that Goli shares the screen and then you just tell her when she changes the slide.
Oh, well, I've got now my slides back again, okay?
Okay, good.
Yeah?
Yeah, of course.
You can see my face now with the hello Jamboard. Okay?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you. So, next slide. As a check-in, I'm going to ask you to take a piece of paper and a pencil and draw a bridge, because a metaphor is like a bridge. We come to that. It bridges the real world, the actual world, with your mental world. So the metaphor bridges that. So to get an idea of what a metaphor is, it's like a bridge. So take a pen and pencil and take 2 minutes to draw a bridge.
If you can please repeat what we need to draw. I missed that last statement.
I'm sorry?
Could you please repeat the last statement, what we need to draw?
Can you draw a bridge?
Okay, got it.
So I guess it's about 2 minutes. And we're now in the check-in in Zoom version. And we're going to have, and this is an experiment for me too, it's the first time I'm doing this, the 3-part breakout sessions. first, you go into breakout rooms and introduce yourself to the people who are there. And then you create a list of attributes of the bridge. What are the qualities? What are aspects? What did you notice? What do you see in the bridge of each other? And you make a common list. The ideas belong to everybody. Then we get you back to the main session. And after that, we go to the second breakout room. And what does this attribute say about you, about working as a facilitator? And then we go into the third breakout session. These are different groups all the time. And then I'm going to ask you, how do you frame a situation based on these attributes? And that's what we're going to share in the Jamboard. And for every breakout group, there will be one Jamboard. So in the last session, you will be assigned to a Jamboard with a name. And then you go to the Jamboard and share your reflections. You only have to share what you want to share. So you don't have to share all kinds of intimate details. Just share what you want to share. If you don't want to share anything, it's all right also. Okay? Yeah, is it okay, Tamara?
Yes.
Yes, yes, I prepared the breakout rooms. Just
Okay.
please tell me for how many minutes we are going to be in each breakout room. We didn't define that.
Well, I don't know, how many people are we?
We are currently 38. So per group,
38.
we have 4 to 5 people.
Okay, that will be great. Yep.
And for how many minutes there should be in the groups? 5 minutes or more? Or 10 minutes?
Well, give him 10 minutes, yeah.
Okay.
So everybody gets about 2 minutes to share what they observe in the bridges and what they observe in your own bridge, and then compile with each other a list of the attributes in your pictures.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. I will also broadcast just as a reminder, this let's say task for the working in the groups. So I will, once the people go into the breakout rooms, I will send this message to the groups.
Okay.
You want me to open now the groups?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm opening the groups and you can all join the groups when the window pops up.
Okay. Good luck to you all. Have a nice time.
Jan, I didn't put you in any group. Would you like to be in any group, or you would like to stay in the main?
No, I'll stay in the main room.
Okay.
And worry.
Okay, now I have so many people that are not signed, just to send them back to the groups.
Okay, this is one last group or something?
Yeah, maybe people couldn't join. I'm not sure. Raikarmi, have you joined the group?
I don't have a group yet.
Let me see where you are. You should be in a breakout room 1, but I will move you to some other group if you can join. Just click join when the window pops up.
Yeah, sure.
I'm trying to put you into the group, but I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, my connection. I'm not seeing any group window as yet.
Yeah, maybe it's your connection because it doesn't show me anything. It just says that you are not signed.
Yeah, so there is a huge connection issue today. I'm getting logged out many a times because the connection is very weak.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Must be that. Because obviously other people have similar problems because they're coming off.
So can you show me the
So
picture
not
of
a
your bridge?
problem, Tamara.
Yeah.
Thanks.
You show the picture to me and Jan. That's the.
Yeah, sure. So this is the picture of my bridge, and to me, it is taking here. There are tree flowers which are blooming and flourishing, and I think as facilitators, we play a very important role in taking maybe just moving someone towards more evolution, towards a growth, towards light. But the path is his own. How much of that light he sees, how much of that greenery he sees, how much of that blooming that happens, it is up to the individual. So I see that as a major connector.
Can you put it up against the camera? I cannot see it clearly.
Yeah,
oh yeah.
Yeah. So there are trees and flowers here. This guy is standing here, and he's crossing the bridge, and there is blooming of the flowers. There is trees. There are light posts. Lamps are there. Light is there. He's moving towards the light, towards emancipation, and towards growth.
Okay, and on one side it's like a barren landscape with few persons, and on the other side is a very rich landscape.
Yeah, this side is I won't say like the landscape is not as rich as it is this side.
Yes.
And it's
so
a
you take people from a poor landscape into a rich landscape. Okay. And there is also an arrow.
A different landscape. I won't say a poor landscape, but it is a different landscape. It's something new. It's something different.
So what do you see, Tamara?
A new thought process. All right?
Yes.
Thank you.
Sorry, Jan, what did you ask?
What do you see in the picture?
In Rai Kumari picture?
Yes.
Yes. Well, I saw that she had this bridge was a bit, let's say, made out of woods, I would say, or bricks, something like that. Is it correct? Because you made some kind of.
It's a wooden bridge. Yeah.
So you also thought about the structure and how is what I don't know if this is a common way to make bridges in India, or it's more like you like the wooden bridges.
It's one of the ways in which bridges are made, especially in villages where or in the mountains, you have more bridges of this kind. You don't have the bricks, and these are flexible. They are very adaptable. They are very they are sturdy, but they are adaptable. They are agile. I think
so we
a
have here
facilitator.
So
the facilitator is agile, very adaptable. The facilitator is agile and adaptable. It's not rigid, so the bricks are not used. When you have the bricks, it's very rigid structure. This is a flexible structure.
Sorry.
Sorry, Jan want to ask something.
That's about the attributes of the bridge. So the attribute of the bridge is it has got structure, but also what I found interesting is that it is man-made. So a bridge is not a natural thing, we make it ourselves.
Yeah.
And that is also an important idea about the metaphor. So it has structure, it has man-made, it leads from one side to another, from a barren place to a very rich side. That is also one of the attributes.
Yeah. And,
so
Jan, it's not rigid, it's flexible, it's adaptable, because you have participants with different learning needs. It can't be the same for everyone. For a facilitator, you have to adapt, you have to change as per the need of your participants also. So there's a flexibility in it.
Excuse me, but the question is about the bridge and not about the facilitator. You've taken the 3 steps in one stride.
Yeah,
you know,
so
the first is, what about the bridge? What are the attributes of the bridge? And what are the attributes of the facilitator?
Can I show mine, Jan?
Yeah, so please.
Okay, so mine bridge is a bridge over the river, and it has the arch and it has the brick edges, but in between it's also I don't know, I didn't define the structure in between. I just made it I want it to be looking also architecturally interesting, I would say.
Yeah. Well, and if I look at your bridge, it are stones which are connecting to each other. You know, they fit together, and together they create the whole structure.
Yeah, and also
so they're self-contained.
And they are also combined with the metal, because this is a metal part. So I have different.
And also, what I notice is that they have a foundation. So a bridge, one of the attributes of a bridge is the foundation, having a foundation, and a very strong one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. People will soon start to go back to the room.
Okay.
So we're waiting for. They will have another minute just to wrap up the discussions. And Jan, you would like also the next 2, 3 also to be in the same length for 10 minutes?
No, the different groups.
No, I know, but the length, the minutes that they will have to discuss in the rooms. 10 minutes is okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Good.
People are coming back. Very good.
Yes.
I'm going to share my screen again. So I asked you to draw a bridge. Thank you for doing that. Then you went into the breakout groups where you shared your pictures, and the question was about what do you observe in the bridge. We had a short conversation here, and okay, get a message. So you get the 3 the bridges. We already went to the part of the facilitators. So, but I want you to go to. I hope you have compiled a list of the attributes of the bridge. Like in our conversation, it has a strong foundation. They are interlocked and they piece together. They move you from a barren landscape to a very rich landscape. That's all the metaphors of the metaphor being like a bridge. It's also man-made, which is also an interesting attribute, I think. So there are natural bridges, but they are very rare. So these are the list of attributes, and in the next breakout room, I'm going to ask you to share the attributes with each other and talk about it, which of the attributes you attribute to yourself as working as a facilitator. So I ask you, what are the attributes of a bridge? And then apply that attribute, but you think, oh, this is an attribute interesting. For instance, okay, a bridge is grounded. I myself see myself as a very grounded facilitator. Or a bridge goes high into the air, and you say, no, as a facilitator, I like to work from the air, from the top. Okay, that's it, I think. Amara?
Yes. So should I then back to people to the groups, right?
Yeah, to another group, yeah, different
Okay,
groups.
to another different groups. Yes, I recreated them. And they will still have 10 minutes for discussion, so
Yes.
I'm opening all the groups now. We had better groups this time. People went to the rooms immediately.
So just the two of us?
So I'm broadcasting share attributes and talk which attributes you assign to yourself as a facilitator, right?
Yep.
Okay.
So how are you doing?
Very busy these 3 days.
Yeah, I can imagine. It must be exhausting.
Well, it was exhausting because I had so much work also besides this to do. So my day didn't finish when I start or finish the festival. So, but that's the time of the year, and also because of this COVID thing, it's really piling up. But I enjoyed it. It was really fun.
Yeah, you get energy from it too, I suppose.
Yes, definitely. The first day when we finished, I had some training in the evening that we have as a training program online, and my colleagues that we do this training together. At the end of the training session, they said, "We never saw you with this much adrenaline." And I said, well, the whole day of facilitation festival, I collected all the adrenaline and then I used it in the training session. So, and you know that that I am actually not a calm person. So imagine, how it was.
I know. I noticed.
Yes, exactly. And but it was fun. It was really nice. I like it. And we're very happy to have you. And finally, I actually am at your workshop.
Yes, it's the first time, I think.
No, it's not. I've been in your workshop I'm not sure in Geneva, but
in Geneva?
Yeah.
Wow.
I think in Geneva I was in your workshop. I think.
Okay. How long do you know each other then?
Oh my God! Don't worry. I don't know. Yeah, in Geneva, definitely. I was in your workshop with synchronicity, and I think it was that was the workshop with alignment. You were talking about the alignment. Was it in Geneva?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So.
You see, I remember.
Yeah, you remember. You remember better than I do. CGG. Oh yeah, that was an interesting workshop.
Yeah,
that's a long time ago.
It was a long time ago. Yeah.
And you also were in Istanbul?
No, Tanya, my colleague, my colleague at that time, she was with me in the company. Tanya, I don't know if you met her. She was in Istanbul. I missed Istanbul, and I was in Geneva. I was in Edinburgh, and I was in Paris.
Okay, but Edinburgh was before Geneva.
Yes, it was. This was my first. Yeah, this was my first. Yeah.
And then we met in Edinburgh, I suppose?
I think we met in Edinburgh, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
It was also a very interesting workshop I did there.
I cannot remember. I think I also attended your workshop then, I think. But yeah, nice. We hope that we will be able to do the live festival in September, because we moved this from May that we wanted to do in Niš.
Yeah.
We moved it to September. So
okay.
after finalizing this, sorry, I was recording all the time. So
high speed is the wrong direction.
Yeah. People are coming back.
Yep. You're recording again? Okay.
Yes, I am.
Okay. Welcome back, my friends, to the show that never ends. Who's familiar with that quote? Oh, no, I can't ask you that. It's from Emerson, Lake and Palmer.
Yeah.
Fanfare for the common man.
Yes, it is.
Yep. Oh, you know it? Good. Never say you know Emerson, Lake and Palmer, but then they can guess how old you are.
It's quite easy to guess, right? So why hiding it? Just allow yourself to be that age and that you're happy.
Okay. Is everybody back?
Should be. We have 38.
Yes.
Okay. Well, thank you. I'm going to share my screen again. So I ask you to draw a bridge, to share the pictures and get the attributes from the bridge. With attributes, you attribute to yourself working as a facilitator. And now this is I think a rather strange question perhaps. And it is also the first time I'm asking this, so I would be nice to hear from you how it works out. The next question is, how do these attributes frame you to perceive a situation? So for instance, you say, okay, I'm a very grounded facilitator, but what does the fact that you think yourself as being a grounded facilitator, how does it make you perceive a situation with a group or with a client or with what's happening in a group? So it's kind of reflecting on your attributes as a facilitator. And I want you to share the ideas with each other. So we created a number of Jamboard groups with different names. And this is a process remark. I usually don't use letters A, B, C, D or numbers 1, 2, 3, 4. I just give groups nowadays names. So because of the kind of to stay in the same metaphor. So they are the Forest Bridge, the Golden Gate Bridge, and of course I'm from the Netherlands, the Rotterdam Bridge. And Tamara is going to assign you to a group with the name of a bridge, and when you are finished or when you are almost finished, then you can switch to the Jamboard again, and in the Jamboard there will be the different groups, the Brooklyn Bridge group. Oh. Something went wrong, okay. So here you have the Brooklyn Bridge groups, and if you are in the Forest Bridge, you go to here, so you can easily navigate to the right group, and then you add your findings there. Okay. Tamara, Celeste?
Yes, just in a second. I will send you soon in the groups, like literally a minute more. Sorry.
Okay.
So people again have 10 minutes, and I'm opening the groups now, and I will also be broadcasting the task.
Yeah, and after the 10 minutes, you go to the Jamboard, and when you're finished entering there's a break. So we then have a 10-minute break, so you can get a coffee or a walk.
Okay.
Yeah. So then.
Jan, are you sure we have time for a break, because we have to finish at 1? So if we now send people to the breakout rooms for 10 minutes and they have additional time for Jamboard, when would you like us to come back?
Well.
How time we need after we finish all this process? How time we need?
Well, all the time in the world. So.
I know your answer. I'm just asking.
Yeah. So you come back at yeah. You also I cannot maintain this 12:35. Okay.
Okay. Good.
Yep.
So talking into the groups, and then people do the Jamboard, and in the meanwhile they also get a coffee or something like that, and just come back to the screen. Okay. Yep. Don't go out from the meeting. Just go from the screen. Okay.
You know, the time is the most wasted resource in the world. You know, because we have so much of it, people tend to waste it.
Yeah. Right. Okay. I'm opening now the rooms, and see you at 12:35.
Okay.
Well, we decided to move forward because of time, because we need to end in 25 minutes sharp. Sorry.
Okay. Jan is mute.
So, thank you. You can hear me now?
Yes.
So, thank you. Normally I would go into the results, but we don't have the time for that. So I go on with my presentation to give you some of the background of the workshop I just did. Here we have it. This is the PowerPoint again. So I ask you to draw a bridge, to share the pictures, to get to the attributes of the bridge, and to reflect on these attributes, how you are perceiving a situation. And this is the reflection. The idea is that you derive your metaphors from your experience and use this to frame your experience. So this is a kind of loop, strange loop, that you use the metaphors from your experience to frame your experience. So we come back to it later. And this enables you to make decisions fast because you can read the situation, but also it frames you in your situation. So it often makes you unable to change because it also determines how you see. So now, how do we create, use, and maintain and change metaphors? Years ago, I found this cartoon about a guy, probably a manager, sitting behind the desk, and he's telling to his subordinate, "Confound it, Hawkins, when I said I meant that literally, it was just a figure of speech." So we most of the times assume that metaphors only exist in speech. But in fact, metaphors go much deeper than that. Every picture is also a metaphor. Even a piece of music is a metaphor. You can only understand music when you understand the metaphor. That is, for instance, why Western music differs from Chinese music, because the whole context of the metaphors are different. Even what you touch and what you feel are technically metaphors. The word metaphor is from the Greek. Meta means over and phora means to carry. You know, the word amphora, which means something to carry a liquid in. So phora is to carry and meta is over. And it carries over. That is why I use the metaphor of a bridge, like a bridge which carries over from one side to another. Also, language translates the metaphor into language. So there is a double metaphor at working. One is the metaphor of the illustration of the figure, and the second one is the language you use to describe that metaphor. So thinking happens metaphorically. So you usually think in thoughts, but you don't think in thoughts, you think in metaphors, in pictures, in images. And these perceptions are bodily actions, and the bodily actions are carried over in thought and language. And I will come to that we don't notice how the body and action are carried over into metaphor, and we can also not notice how we create our thoughts. Now, from the Psychology of Metaphor by Kim Hermanson, that is which I did a course with about metaphor. The metaphor are pervasive in everyday life. There is no life outside metaphor. The very word life is a metaphor of life. And your perceptual and your conceptual systems are metaphorical in nature. So the nature of your perceptions is a metaphor. And this is very difficult to understand because we usually are not accustomed to thinking it in this way. Because also we are unaware of this fact that everything is metaphor. What you say, metaphoricity? I suppose it's an English word. We are unaware of the metaphoricity of our conceptual systems. You cannot be aware of the way your brain works. And they arise through your experiences and they manifest it in language. So a metaphor created from experience, manifests itself in language through the metaphor. And I think this last one is very important. The locus of a metaphor is in learning. A metaphor is about learning and it is not about language. When you learn something, you are conceptualizing one domain in terms of another. Like a bridge, you go from one domain, from one side, which is rather barren in the metaphor we had in the beginning, and you go to a very rich side, which is a picture side. It's a very good metaphor about the metaphor. So I developed a number of slides to illustrate the way we develop and maintain our metaphorical mind. And I use the metaphor of traveling. If I want to go from here to here, I have to travel, and you travel through a landscape. You take a series of steps or sequences of situations. And while doing that, you remember your steps and you create a world. Based on your steps, you create in your head a map of the steps, so you remember the steps. You probably notice that when you go to a place for the first time, it takes a very long time to go from A to B. But the second time, when you do the same, traveling the same road, it goes much faster. Of course, it doesn't go much faster because it's the same time. You're walking or you're biking again, but in your mind, it takes a shorter time because you remember the steps you took. So this is the way your mind creates a mental map and remembers the situation. And this map I called encoding or abstracting. So in a way, your brain abstracts the features of the landscape and stores them for later reference. It's called encoding because it's a kind of code, like a map you're making. And the encoding and the abstracting are implicit. So this is to show you how you decode the map. You decode it by realizing it. As I told you, when you're walking or bicycling or using a car for the second time, the same road, you're decoding your map and you're realizing, and this is a double meaning, of course, you're realizing the map you've stored in your brain. And in doing so, you refine your map. So you go to the cycles of encoding, decoding, encoding, decoding, until you have a map which is good enough for the situation, good enough to remember. So this is not working now. So you draw, as a metaphor, a map in your head through the process. So now I've numbered it 1, 2, 3, or 4, so that you're traveling from 1 to 2 is basically the same as you're traveling from 2 to 3 to 4. So your mental map consists of a voyage from A to B, but you need 3 steps to create the metaphor. Now, the structure of the map is the same as the structure of the situation. You're probably familiar with the quote, the map is not a territory. So the map is not a map of the landscape, but the structure of the map is the same as the structure of the territory. That is why I ask you to look at the attributes of the bridge. You look at the structure of the bridge, because the structure of the bridge is the structure of the metaphor. So to summarize, your brain remembers the steps, the action, or your behavior, and your memory must be unaware of this encoding, because you cannot remember the way you create the map, because it would overload your system. The memory maps your behavior on a terrain. It's a natural domain, and you are only aware of the realizing of the decoding of your memory. You become, in a way, aware of the map while using the map. And these are called learning routines. They reduce the difference between the map and the working reality. Now, the funny word here is routines, because a route is also a word which is somewhat associated with taking a route. So the routines, going over and over the same route again, reduces the difference between your map and how you use the map in working with it. And in this way, you contain your own memories, your maps, and your metaphors. And when you are in a situation, you subconsciously retrieve the maps which belong to that situation. And through metaphor, you structure your experiences in the same way as in the structure of abstract classes. So what I ask you to do in creating the list of attributes that are usually called classes or categories or attributes, and the structure of these classes is the structure of your experience. So, I added this quote. I like this quote. It's from Nielsen, The Point. It's a record which dates from the 60s or 70s. And in it, 2 figures, Oblio and Arrow, are 2 figures which have no point. Oblio has no point, and he has to find out his point. You know the point in life. And they meet the Rockman, and the Rockman says, the thing is, you see what you want to see and you hear what you want to hear. You dig? Do you ever see Paris? And Oblio says, no. Did you ever see New Delhi? And Oblio said, no. Well, that's it. You see what you want to see and you hear what you want to hear. And I've used this quote often in working with groups and also with managers and directing teams, because you kind of see what you want to see and you hear what you want to hear. And this is what a metaphor does to you. Your metaphorical impressions make you see what you see. You cannot see what you can't see. You cannot hear what you can't hear. And your brain works in a way that reduces the difference between what you see and what you want to see. And this is what a metaphor does. So in the natural domain, you have your actions and your way of working. And then we create an artificial domain in our heads, but also on paper and in pictures and in music, which are the memories, the encoded memories of our experiences. And then they decode it again when we have those experiences. So you see what you want to see, but also you see what you can see, you can hear. Now we have no access to the encoding, to the, oh no, sorry. This picture is also meant that you have memories of a situation, but you can have different maps from the same situation. For instance, when you're traveling by bike, you need another map than when you're traveling by car or when you're walking. You have different maps. So in a certain situation, you can apply another map. And that's what I think we as facilitators can do. We can change the metaphor in use. For instance, one of the things I now regularly use is when people frame a situation as a problem, I offer them a different map and say, no, don't see it as a problem, because let's see it as, for instance, trying to get from one place to another place. What would it look like if we see it like that? Or you change another situation. And this is we always do this intuitively by asking people to make drawings or to ask them to choose a picture card. Because what happens is that everybody encodes the situation in a different way, and they are not aware of their encoding mechanisms. But the decoding is explicit, so we can see how somebody decodes a situation, for instance, defines it as a war or as a cooperative situation or as a situation with lack of trust. And some people focus on the roads, some people focus on the nature, and other people see human beings because of their basic encoding. And then we get a conflict about the decoding, about how we should see the situation. So here are the consequences. People differ in the maps, the memories, the metaphors, and all these words begin with an M. Also the word mind begins with an M. This is nice to remember. And they are about the same reality, the same W. So, which is Wirklichkeit or Werkelijkheid in Dutch, which means to work. And in a way, we are all men or women, and there is an elephant in the room, but we don't know it's an elephant. So this is also a metaphor about the elephant in the room, but technically we don't even know it's an elephant. We only know it's an elephant when we have decided that we use the metaphor of an elephant. And your mental maps make you see, so you can see, but you can only see what you can see. And we only realize it when we are talking, we only realize what we're talking about when we act. So this is, I think, also very important in my way of facilitation, that I always tend to people to let them act things. And you know, also, of course, of theater, it's also a very good way of facilitating, because then people have to act and to enact things, and by acting they realize what they're talking about. So the reality, and we got it from the first session I happened to attend, the reality changes, so the landscape changes continuously. It is an external change, and people transform internally. And the internal transformation is about changing the metaphors, the metaphor induced. It's called seeing the same situation with different eyes. So now it's going to be really difficult. If you think this was hard to understand, this is even much more difficult to understand, because we also invented language. So what we do when we use language, we create this whole situation of creating metaphors and create another set of metaphors. So we encode a subjective experience into what we call an object, It's not an object, of course, it's a picture of an object. And then again, we use these objects as a subject in decoding it into an activity. The inducing part of it, the encoding part, is implicit, and the decoding part is explicit. You can hear me talk now. So I'm inventing, I'm decoding my internal metaphors into an act. But this is, of course, not language. It's still how we use a stone to throw. When we have to create language, we use this throwing of things and formulate it into a description and then tell something about the subject. So we have a second layer here where you use the object and formulate, which is another word for encoding, a description in a language. And then there is thinking on the top. Then you become aware of it in thinking and telling it about the subject. So you don't know where your thoughts are coming from because they are intuitively, they are encoded in your brain, but you don't notice the encoding. The only thing you can hear is your thoughts when you are telling them. And they're based on the description in language. And this whole process is covered up because you don't know how you're thinking. And I found this, this quote by Nietzsche. Is from the end of the 19th century, who already pointed at this double metaphor of language. He writes, the creator of language designates the relations of things to men. So we attribute attributes to the relations of things to men. For expressing these relations, he lays hold of the boldest metaphors. To begin with, the nerve stimulus is transferred into an image. This is the first metaphor. And the image, in turn, is imitated in a sound, the second metaphor. And each time there's a complete leap from one sphere right into the middle of an entirely new and different one. And I think this is what makes facilitation so difficult, because we actively engage with this jumping from one system of thinking or one system of experience into another one and back to the first one. So how do we conceptualize a metaphor? You make an object, and I mean a concrete object like a stone or an orange, into classes of objects by inducing it. And you throw, in a way, this object to a subject, and you create the subject, and that is what you express in language. Again, the interesting word here is to throw, because a subject and an object is both derived from jakeren, to throw. And I can't go into it because because basically our language is based on throwing things. Now, the encoding and abstracting and translating object into metaphor is in language, and the encoding is implicit. And the implicit encoding is defined by your group of culture. And in the Dutch, the word relating to, it's in English belonging, is in Dutch behoren, and behoren means to hear. So you have been encoded with your culture through your group, and this is implicitly done when you are being raised, when you're being taught as a child. And this encoding is based on the perceiving, and the perceiving determines the encoding. So here we have the strange loop again. So you try to create I shall say to reduce the gap between what you think you know and what you actually know in language. But in fact, the only thing you can realize things is to know how the meaning of words follows from the correct use of it, and not from the correct use of the words itself. And this is what happens in most of the groups when they keep sitting down and exchange words. They don't know what they're talking about because they are just exchanging words. The moment you stand up and move, then only you start to act, and then you can realize the meaning of the words. So this is why I did this workshop with you. So I ask you to draw a bridge. In that way, I triggered your brain to go through the actions of drawing. And in that way, you start realizing the objects or the attributes of the bridge. And these again, you translate into a language, which is the list of attributes. And these attributes you use as a facilitator to frame your situation in. So you have to be aware as a facilitator in how you frame a situation in order for people to be able to change their situation.
Sorry,
time is
Jan?
left? Yep.
Sorry, we have only 3 minutes left, so just
Okay.
for you to be aware. Thank you.
Yeah, I noticed that. I was just looking at my watch at the same time. So I'll skip this. You can read it in the... So the learnings about facilitating conversations. So our world, perceiving and relations are inherently metaphorical. And by inherently, I mean there is nothing outside the metaphor. So you cannot escape metaphor. And in sessions, you should always ask people to inform each other about the metaphors they are using. So if they are talking about communication, always ask them, what do you mean by communication? If they're talking about a problem, what do they mean by the word problem? And use the images to bypass the language. So be aware that the meaning resides in people. So be aware of how they move, how they place itself, how they move, how the tone of voice they use, because that gives you clues on the metaphor they use, on the meaning of the metaphor. Then everything depends on the point of view. So when you are in a session, change the point of view, because you cannot see. And then, this is enact new behavior routines as soon as possible. So one of the things I usually ask at the end of a session, and I'm going to do it now also, is what are you going to do differently tomorrow? Because only when you enact, when you realize your metaphors, then you create new behavior and new routines. Okay?
Yes.
Sorry, Jan, there is one question in the chat. Pervin asked if there is any papers, books, or reading materials that can help people to go deeper. Great, thank you.
Here it is. And if you want to know how to work with metaphor, I can recommend, where is it? The Art of Clean Language by Tompkins.
Yeah, it's a third from the bottom.
Yeah, the third from the bottom. It's they don't go into how we create metaphors. They accept it as a fact of life, and they teach you how to use clean language. Okay.
Yes, this was really great.
Thank you. So if you have any questions, don't hesitate to share them with me or post them on the Jamboard. The Jamboard is still open.
Yeah. Well, we are just at 1 o'clock. Now what we are going to say to people is that this recording of this great session will be, of course, uploaded on the IAF channel webpage. And the same implies also for the material, and we will probably share some material through the emails that you've registered with. And yeah, do you want to say something final, Jan?
Oh yeah, let's have the last word. Well, thank you. Thank you for organizing this, Tamara and Celeste. You're doing a great job.
And Golly, sorry.
I really Golly, I really admire you. You know,
Yeah,
I can stand using Zoom. It's terrible.
Okay. Well, I will just at the end of the session, really final touch is that now we are continuing in the same room with open space in year 115. And of course, Jan, if you want to join us in the open space, it will be also great. But I also am sharing in the chat the link for the Google Docs or the Google form for you to actually give us feedback on the sessions that you attended and on the festival. Please make effort and fill in. Because this was this is really important for us to understand what could we do better next time. And I don't know, Celeste, do you want to say something at the end?
Just a big thank you, and we'll keep on. Next one will be in 15 minutes.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Thank you all very much, and see you soon. Bye.
Ciao.
Bye.
Ciao. I'm staying in this room because I am in the open space. See you.
Hey, Tamara?
Yes?
I'm just going
people, those who are going to participate in the next session, we may please ask you to leave and join in 15 minutes. Thank you.
We can, Rena, we can also just put them in the waiting room. They don't have to really leave. I can do that manually now. If people leave, then that means that they are just leaving the session. Okay?
Yeah, and I see Bogdan is here.
Yeah, you can put, you can let him in.
Yeah, he's in.
Okay.
Okay, well, thank you, ladies.
Ciao,
Jan.
Very much.
You're welcome.
Soon. See you. It was really great.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye.
We can always learn so much.
Very informative. Thank you.
See you.
Hello.
Hello, Bogdan.
Hi, Tamara.
Hi, Michaela. Michaela or Michaela? Should I say Michaela or Michaela?
Michaela.
Michaela.
Thank you.
Michaela.
Yes, Michaela.
Okay.
So, who is going to make me host?
I'm making you host. Just a sec.
Yes.
All right, Tamara, I'm leaving you.
Yes.
Thank you. And
you want Bogdan to be a host?